This is a Glass Box Media podcast.
This is your Shorty for October. I'm Cassie.
I'm Keegan.
I'm Christina. We have an interesting idea. Actually, not we. Keegan did. About the would you rathers for the Shorty, which I just love. Pulling on the vast trove of bad dates that we have. Talking about would you rather go on a date with somebody who gets too drunk or gets too high.
Now, this is an interesting one because, as we've said, there are variables here, okay?
Yeah.
Because it's like drunk on what?
Yes.
And it's like high on what?
Right. And it's also like, you know, we've had the work Christmas party. We've had someone who gets too drunk at a wedding. Like,
yeah. I mean, and like, yes. So we've definitely had our share of get so drunk that they vomit everywhere, that they pee everywhere, that they
fart.
shit.
Yeah, that was a recent one. They did get married.
So I feel like, yes, we definitely had some messy drunks.
Right.
But we've also had some really bad high experiences as well.
I guess it really does depend on the high, right? Because are you high on like weed? That's
Like
to
edibles?
me a way less of a big deal than like if you're like super fucking high on like, I don't know, heroin.
Shrooms.
You came shroomed up.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, okay. I think for me personally, because I don't do drugs, I think that my patience would wear out much more quickly.
Yeah.
If it was somebody who was high on almost anything. Like I would just get annoyed really fast with that person. Like it's like I don't know, like trip sitting or sitting with somebody who's like really high and like it has no comprehension of like what's going on. I feel like I have more empathy for people who get really drunk because I've been really drunk.
There's less of a mess, I feel like, to clean up.
Depends.
Because like drunk means vomit.
Usually more,
at least.
Yes, more
if
bodily
not
fluids
more-
are flying around.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
This one's hard for me.
I mean, you did pee on a
Yeah.
dresser.
Yes.
Drunk. So not to call you out. I'm just saying.
No,
You've told that story before. I feel comfortable.
I've done it. I've peed on a dresser. So yeah, there's lots of things that happen. I think I told the story too of a friend of mine that peed in a refrigerator crisper.
No.
Oh, so good.
I
brilliant.
feel like, okay, also.
Did he shut the door when he was done?
It's courtesy. I feel like the type of drunk is different too. Like wine drunk, yes.
Yeah.
Whiskey drunk, no.
I don't know. I've been whiskey drunk and I'm fine whiskey drunk.
Whiskey drunk leads to lights out for me.
Wait,
so
did you
that's
just make a
little-
face because I'm not fine?
No.
whiskey drunk?
You are fine.
I was like,
you
wait.
are fine. But I feel like a lot of people are not fine. Like I've known a lot of people who get very like, and I love whiskey.
It also, again, depends on how your reaction. That's the
Yeah.
thing. I mean, like, I grew up and my dad was an alcoholic. So, like, I mean, I grew up in my house was very different with somebody drunk than a different type, you know, like, so, but oh man, I hate both of them. I don't want to be on a date with either of these. I will say that I would prefer, if we're just talking basics, just basic alcohol, beer versus like weed. I would probably go weed. I would prefer.
But too high on weed, like, because that's the thing, because we're talking too drunk or too high. Both are bad. Both are bad. I think when I get too
feels
high,
less dangerous.
True. That's true. That's a
good point.
That's a good point.
Feels way less dangerous to me. Like I don't feel like that person you're too high. You're probably just going to eventually fall asleep
or just be quiet. And
Neither
neither
one of these people are getting a second date.
Right.
Like, neither of these people are getting a second date. But I know myself and like the like spinning out that would happen too high.
I feel safer to leave you too high. A date, not you personally.
Yeah,
but
I'm like, wow, geez.
Wow, you're like, wow, that's rude.
Yeah, no, that's true. Yeah, and yes, and a really drunk person, you still have to babysit them because they're like a really drunk person is going to try and like climb into your neighbor's window or something.
So much more unpredictable.
Right.
So much more unpredictable. Like alcohol, like that can, even just beer. A beer drunk can do, there's so many avenues. You could be wily and mischievous, like you said, trying to climb and then you're babysitting.
Getting all
or
squirmy.
you have somebody who gets like fucking pissed drunk and is like a fucking piece of shit.
Wants to fight
and wants
somebody.
to like fight everybody or fight you or get aggressive.
Oh, that's me on tequila.
Yeah, we saw that TikTok of that woman who got, remember, I think Cassie sent it. There was that TikTok of that woman who got really drunk on a date. And then like they took her back to their apartment and the roommate and him were trying to like keep her calm, but she was losing her shit. She was like screaming, trying to fight them. She's in the street. Yeah, okay. I've been convinced. I will go too high if it's weed.
Yes.
If it is,
we're being very specific.
If it is
talking
hallucinogenics, absolutely fucking not. I'm not here for that.
Anything hard.
Anything that's too up, like anybody who's too high on cocaine, I'm not here for that either.
Yeah.
No,
yeah, that's
because
true.
that person is gonna be doing some wild shit too.
That person's gonna be fun though.
Also talking your ear off about nonsense.
Yes.
Dude. One time I got so high on cocaine that I decided it would be a great idea to write down some of the thoughts in my head.
And you look at him sober and you're like, please tell me you still have that list.
I don't. I wish I did. It was like at one point, me and the person I was getting high with were trying to do one sentence stories back and forth.
Oh,
and
no.
It was wow. And you read it the next day and
and you thought it was brilliant at the time.
You're like, we're going to be fucking rich. You're not.
And it's like the person that's sober dealing with that is having to listen to that nonsense.
Yeah, I also want to yes, in this scenario, we're sober or nearly sober, right?
That's right.
Like,
you're not there. With
There's
them.
probably nothing more annoying than being sober around somebody who's like really high on cocaine.
That's true.
Like you're like,
actually, I've definitely done that. But I was also in my young 20s and very much like hypo. So I was like up until 3 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
I stayed up. Chris fell asleep. He was
okay. That's also the most annoying. If you're sober in a room with two people who are on cocaine and you have to listen to them talk to each other.
No, I was in on it. I was talking with them. It wasn't just me watching them like a weirdo.
I do this. I do Mr. Burns' hands.
Nice.
I'm like, yes, absolutely.
Interesting. Excellent.
Yeah, I mean, both of them suck. To be like sober around somebody that's like incapacitated, there is. But if you're talking about beer and weed, I'm definitely going to lean towards weed.
Yeah.
They're going to be quiet.
They're just going to get hungry.
Yeah, there might be
contemplative.
Yeah, in the equation.
Yeah. Oh yeah. At least
you
you're
might eat
feeding
more
me.
than you want.
Yeah, at least you're feeding me, that's good.
Yeah.
You know, you're probably gonna watch like the Royal Tenenbaums or something.
It's gonna be quiet. Yeah. Whereas,
even if it's no matter what strain of weed, you are not in danger. I don't feel like because I've never heard of somebody getting quote too high in which other than them thinking that they're only going to die themselves.
Exactly. I was going to say personally, I have gotten so high on edibles.
That's right.
That
always
I
edibles.
Literally was laying on the ground of a musician lockout bathroom. The
awful.
If you can imagine, I probably have natural immunity to every disease now from doing that.
Yeah.
But I got so high, I was convinced that I was dying. Convinced.
No.
See, that's
no fun. That is no
but
fucking
that's the
fun.
literal worst thing, right? The worst thing that can happen from somebody being too high is
right.
I really think
sitting and rubbing their back and being like, "You are here now."
So dizzy.
It's okay.
So nauseous.
Yeah.
I projectile vomited like everywhere.
Ew.
Listen, still better than I just like. I don't know. Maybe it's my own personal drama, but I just like somebody being too alcohol drunk is so
it's messier.
Yeah.
It's so all over. Like they're just your options are too wide and vast.
Well, and also like I was still able to be reasoned with. Even,
Yes.
I mean, that is the most high
Yeah.
I've ever been in my life, but I was still able to
People who get too drunk, you can't.
You can't.
No.
There's no reason.
No. Yeah.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, I agree.
So
okay.
dangerous.
Yes. I mean, these are both terrible options, and neither of these people are getting a second date.
No.
If I
Never
have to
again.
babysit you because you got too stoned, we're not going out again ever.
But it
but
probably won't be as bad as someone that got too
you're not going to
drunk.
pee in my vegetable crisper, probably. You know,
or in my dresser on all my clothes.
Wow. Oh my clothes.
Oh my gosh.
Ooh, that was a journey, you guys.
Ooh, wow,
Really was.
yeah.
Let's launch into stories.
Okie dokie. I can go first.
Okay. Go for it.
All right. When I was 17, I took a girl out on a date to the movies. We ordered tickets, but I barely had enough money to cover it. 17. We then proceeded inside where she was nice enough to buy things, specifically nachos and cheese. Well, I managed to sideswipe and got cheese all over her dress, so I panicked and started cleaning it off with napkins, which was awkward. You know that, like,
Cheese
you're like,
is not
sorry,
coming out.
I'm sorry. It's artificial Velveeta.
Oh no.
That was great. Then we managed to exchange items, and somehow I wound up holding the soda. When we were looking for seats, I accidentally bumped into her and spilled soda all over the floor.
This bitch is like, God damn it.
Mountain Dew, to be exact.
Ew.
It's not done. I then had some massive exponential growth of gas and farted like shit really loud during the movie.
I just imagine being like a quiet time.
Yes,
It's like,
it's a serious moment. And at that point, I wanted to drown myself in the nearest canal. So she had to be home earlier than expected. No, she didn't.
No.
Yeah, she
Oh,
did not. She's
shoot.
like, oh, my mom called.
I gotta go
I
home.
gotta go home.
Oh.
So we couldn't finish the movie. Yeah, no. Sorry.
She lit up before the
End of the movie?
I cannot be
No.
in this fucking seat
No.
anymore. I don't want people
smells
to
like
know we're
fart.
together.
No. On the way to drop her off, I crashed into a tree and totaled my car.
Calamity.
Oh my god. That is a dream.
Like, wow. Like, this is the clumsiest person of all time.
Wait,
my
but
God.
the universe is like, no.
No, it's not meant to be.
No.
It's not meant to be.
That is a sign.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
Okay.
Oh, Jesus.
I had just wired up a kickin' stereo and speaker box.
Wow. Yeah.
Picked up the girl for our first date. Hit a pothole at the corner of her street. A wire must have grounded somewhere, and I did not install a fuse. A fire started on the dash.
This is the same guy. It's the same guy. Different car, different date.
I couldn't put it out. The car was fully engulfed in flames by the time the first fire trucks showed up.
Oh no.
My date's parents walked down the street and saw everything.
Oh,
After
no.
the cops wrote me a ticket for driving an unsafe motor vehicle, her dad drove me home.
Oh,
honey.
my
Oh.
God. Oh, no. Oh, God. Okay.
Calamity is funny.
Oh, it's so funny. Wow. Well, taking mine to a different turn. This was a story, this was a date with an undertaker's assistant. He'd circle
Oh, no.
every topic of conversations back to corpses. Me.
You know, I have to say, probably the first couple times I'd be like, all right, like, this is interesting. Like, you
Yeah.
probably know some stuff. Like, that's kind of interesting to me. But every subject,
Yeah.
Me. So, do you know what you're going to order? Him. Well, I was thinking of the steak, but I had eaten steak. When we got the river guy in, and now it makes me feel queasy.
oh,
the
it's the river guy. I'm like, I'm sorry. What?
I ended up leaving after half an hour.
The river guy.
Well, I was thinking about ordering the steak, but ever
now
since
it
that
makes me
river
think
guy
about
came in,
bloated
oh God.
bodies.
God.
Oh, okay. Picnic, literally on the Trail of Tears. Seriously, we were both in high school and I didn't have the heart to tell him I had no interest in him. His grandmother picked me up and drove us. He put a quilt down right next to the trail marker and proceeded to try and kiss me / tell me about our future for the next hour while tourists passed and very quietly read the historical markers.
Oh my God, that makes me want to peel my skin off. That's awful.
Oh my.
And imagine, like, you're reading it's a solemn thing. You're reading the historical markers and there's 2 teenagers sitting on a quilt having a picnic.
Oh no. No. Don't do that.
Don't do that.
Don't ever do that. Okay. She says, he made me an utterly burnt grilled cheese with crunched up nacho chips inside.
Listen, that guy's high. That guy is stoned. He forgot about the grilled cheese.
He's like, oh shit.
Oh, damn. Then told me to get up and go wash my hands in the other room after because he wanted to hold hands but didn't like crumbs. He then held my sparkling clean hand and told me how shitty his last relationship was.
Oh, he's stoned for sure.
Hi.
That guy is so high. Yeah.
Oh. Because I got high.
He's like,
because I got high.
Your hands, just the texture. I can't.
No crumbs.
You could go wash those crumbs off first, bro. That'd be great. You're like,
no
okay.
crummies.
No crummies.
Oh, God. He took me to see Cloverfield, kept putting his hand on my thigh with me putting it back on his lap. He stopped and I thought he got the message. Instead, he tells me he's motion sick and we have to leave now. He staggers out of the theater, brushing against irritated people in their seats. Outside, he pukes into a popcorn bucket while I stand there mortified. We go back to his car and he tells me he is too sick to drive for a while. I wait a bit, trying to think. Can you imagine though? Like he's like he was trying to put his hand on her thigh, like
just steady himself,
and she's like,
no, you're not getting to second base, not tonight.
I mean, I get it. We go back to his car and he tells me he's too sick to drive. I wait a bit to think of what to do when I notice him unbuttoning his pants.
Stop.
Okay, you just vomited. And I know that's not the area I'm going to, but still,
what about this situation made you think that was happening? What about this? The audacity.
Oh my God.
I ask him what he is doing and he asks me if, quote, I want to kiss it.
Oh my God. That fills me with rage. I wasn't anticipating. Wow.
So fucking
triggered.
Do you
I actually am as well. In a very awful way.
I hate that.
Got out of the car and went to the lobby and called my sister to pick me up. He was still sitting in his car when we left 45 minutes later.
Second of all, if I am that girl's older sister, if this had been my sister in the car,
You're like, roll it down. You're banging on that window. Roll it down. We got to talk.
The hand motion for roll it down.
Yeah.
Go ahead and roll that down. Yeah. We have a conversation to have.
I got things to say. Okay. This might actually also be the first guy from the story. My first 3 dates with my wife were at best hot garbage.
Wow. And she kept going out with you.
On our first date, I tripped on the movie theater stairs, splitting my face open, so we got to go to the ER for a first date. On our second date, she chose an iffy restaurant, and we immediately ended up with food poisoning.
Oh, no.
At least we went to it together. On our third date, we basically decided to just stay at home and bubble wrap ourselves.
Right.
But her dog was so excited to see me that it barfed on my lap. At least the dog was kind of a wingman and gave me an excuse to get naked and shower at her place.
And also that implies that the dog likes you, right?
He was like
stoked.
Oh my God, yay! He's like Cartman.
I think it just shows and the longer that we do this series that even if the date is like super bad, if you're with the right person,
that's exactly right.
It's fine.
It's
going to be fine.
That's so funny that you say that, because I was actually thinking that earlier, like about how many times, like we've recently had a bunch of string of like, my wife and I had this date, which in one person's eyes is like, you're like, no, that's a fucking deal
nightmare.
breaker. Like,
well, with the wrong person, it would be like
that's
all
right.
of those. If it was somebody I was lukewarm about, we're done.
Yeah,
like, I'm not gonna keep doing this.
But
with
if
you.
you're like, I see potential here, like everything else is like just hitting.
Yeah,
you're like, that's why people say when you know, you know.
Yeah,
because it's so true. Because you would never do that with somebody that you, like you said, lukewarm about.
Yeah.
Eric and I do like the most boring things together, but it still is like so fun. When it's right, it's right. Even, if I drop a massive fart in the bed.
Oh God.
He goes, noise.
Of
course he does.
High five.
Yep.
Well, if you guys have any stories, any would you rather suggestions, just want to reach out and say hello, go to our one-stop shop of a website. It's myworstdatepodcast.com. And we love you so much.
Cheers.
This is a Glass Box Media Podcast.